we'll start here with what is the biggest news of the day, which is this West Bank settlement news. Israeli Finance Minister Smotrich explicitly said yesterday, or earlier today, that Netanyahu and the Israeli government, alongside President Donald Trump and Israeli Ambassador Mike Huckabee, he explicitly says this in this video, agreed to revive this E1 settlement plan. But let's hear from Smotrich first, announcing this at this site. And he says it right in this clip, that this buries the idea of a Palestinian state. I will talk over this and read the captions for the podcast audience. Today we are finally fulfilling the promise and connecting Ma'ale Adumim to Jerusalem, our one and only capital, in strategic security and demographic connection, that ensures our capital remains united for generations to come. I want to first and foremost thank President Trump and his team and Ambassador Huckabee, true friends of Israel, like we have never had in the world. Anyone who tries today in the world to recognize a Palestinian state will receive an answer from us on the ground. Facts on the ground. Not in documents, not in decisions or declarations, but in facts. In the facts of houses, in the facts of neighborhoods, roads, and more Jewish families will build lives. They will talk about the false Palestinian dream. We will continue to build a fulfilling Jewish reality. This reality ultimately buries the idea of a Palestinian state, simply because there is nothing to recognize and no one to recognize. I wish our Western press would accurately reflect the attitudes of the Israeli government, including the fact that this is widely supported within Israeli society. He said it right there. When I said facts on the ground, I didn't realize he was going to explicitly say the words facts. Matt, can you explain the origin of that phrase?
Well, I mean, just as he said it, regardless of anything like international law saying things like people that have been removed from a land due to conquest have a right to return to that land. The facts say otherwise, and the facts being just continued settlements of Israelis.
And this is significant in the facts on the ground that this would create. This isn't a plan called the E1 plan, which is really important to understand, and why this had been considered a bit of a red line for past Israeli prime ministers, and U.S. presidents had told them no up until this moment, in part because Donald Trump received $100 million from Miriam Adelson, and the quid pro quo, as was reported, was annexation of the West Bank. This is key to creating West Bank annexation facts on the ground. So let's pull up this thread here by Daniel Siedemann, who explains why this E1 plan is so important. Because, so like, I'll preface it by saying the Green Line, when people talk about the Green Line, that's the internationally recognized borders between Israel and Palestine that Israel has been in violation of since 1967, when they settled the West Bank, stole land, and you'll hear about occupied East Jerusalem. That is also when Israel occupied East Jerusalem, which is supposed to be Palestinian territory. They've been illegally doing so since 1967. And this E1 settlement, if we can pull this up here, the second part of this thread would, here it is. E1 has long been considered by virtually all of the international community as the Doomsday settlement. E1 will dismember the West Bank into two cantons, making a viable Palestinian state impossible. It will seal off Jerusalem from the West Bank, preventing a Palestinian capital. Let's pull up this map. So you can see here, occupied East Jerusalem and E1 in yellow. And there's also the other settlement that is circled there that is on the western side of it. So E1 is in between a major Israeli settlement, to the east of it, and East Jerusalem is to the west, and E1 would be in the center. So that basically creates more and more land division between occupied East Jerusalem and the West Bank. So they've done this already with the Gaza Strip. You know that if you look at a map, the Gaza Strip is separated from the bulk of Palestinian territory in the West Bank. They also divided leadership there to make it more difficult to have a Palestinian state. And they have been trying with this E1 plan to build since 1996, and Western leaders have repeatedly told them no. But now they've got their best friend in office, Donald Trump. And they're panicked about seeing like France recognize a Palestinian state, Canada doing the same, which we know, again, that Palestinian statehood with the current facts on the ground is impossible unless they were to remove these settlers. But we also believe in a right to return and one democratic state, which is there's currently a one-state reality where Israel controls the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza, and they're committing genocide in one of those territories and then actively, acceleratingly, ethnically cleansing in the West Bank and illegally occupying that third piece in East Jerusalem for decades. So that is the significance of this story here. And
I mean, it's what we talked with Jasper Nathaniel about. The annexation is happening, and it isn't just Huckabee and Trump. Why was Bill Clinton talking about Judea and Samaria in fucking Michigan during the election? It's because largely the Zionist politicians that run our country, pro-Israel politicians that run our country, have accepted this. The only problem is how do you sell it to a world that finds it repulsive? But it also needs to be said that it doesn't just stop at the West Bank. There is Bibi is now being open about the vision of Greater Israel, which extends into Jordan and Syria, just across the Middle East, Saudi Arabia. There's this new article of the Times of Israel. Arab nations fume after Netanyahu says he feels connection to vision of Greater Israel.
Oh, why would they fume when he's saying
we're going to take their land?
Saying, I'm going to take
next.
your land.
You're next, and that is what will happen if Western powers continue appeasing or indeed being complicit with these land grabbers.
I mean, Israel's been occupying Syria currently. They have also been incurring into land in Lebanon in the north, let alone bombing civilians in that entire period in Lebanon. This is a rogue genocidal state that is trying in this period of time where they feel like they can accelerate their militarism to grab as much land and kill as many Palestinians as they possibly can.
This is they've been clear about this. This is like the supposedly marginal fringe of Israeli society that we're not supposed to pay attention to, despite them being in the driver's seat for our entire lives. And everything else is just PR to try to deny and give a bedtime story for what's actually happening, which is there is a literal, what do you call it in the German? Lebensraum? That's what Israel's after. And it's just clear there's a Hitlerian Nazi type march to take over and be belligerent with other countries. And we're saying, well, maybe it's very complicated, right? People just not. It's very clear. There's just an invested interest in lying to people about it, because the more people see what's actually happening, the more people reject it.
Well, while we were on the Buttigieg, I wasn't planning on doing this, but it ties into our conversation here. I find it fascinating that Buttigieg had to walk his comments back here because his answer on Pod Save America was so disastrous and embarrassing and didn't meet the moment that he went to Politico to try to clarify this. This is their podcast playbook explaining, because I guess this was a conversation that was just over in text, explaining why Buttigieg, I guess, felt the need to say this to Politico.
Do you want to take a second stab at that?
Yeah, and I do think it's also interesting when you hear their framing of it, because obviously Politico is as DC Beltway as it gets, and if we're talking about facts on the ground about Israel's standing in the United States, the way that they even talk about this as a liability for Buttigieg is a huge shift.
that you're going to want to read for both its 2028 implications and for a better sense of how opinions within the Democratic Party are shifting on Israel and Gaza. Recently, former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg made an appearance on the influential Pod Save America podcast, after which he caught incoming fire over his response to a question.
Can we just chill with some of the language?
Yeah. I mean, fair enough.
Okay, sorry.
He was asked a simple question.
We've seen people be ripped
That's
apart
a
by
bullet
missiles.
Yeah, right. Words are violence, according to Zionists, though, so...
about Gaza, an answer which critics thought was especially mealy-mouthed.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Adam, because Buttigieg is known for being such an excellent communicator and really being able to distill and help digest some of these really
Among you people, sorry.
complicated topics. So I was surprised by the story, but it looks like he's trying to do a little bit of cleanup and clarifying, and he is doing that with you, my friend. You talked to him, so I'm so curious to hear what his message was on take two on this question.
Is there like a liberal audio
he
filter?
sort of acknowledged that he wasn't as clear as he could have been. He said, quote, "I get it," end quote. He said, quote, "It's important to be clear about something this enormous and this painful. It's just that it's so enormous and it's so painful that sometimes words can fail." Essentially, I asked him the same questions that the Pod Save hosts asked him, whether or not, if he was a member of the Senate, that he would have voted against sending additional arms to Israel. And he said, yes, he would have voted against that. I asked him where he was at on naming Palestine as a state. And he essentially said that he thought just words on a paper didn't have a lot of meaning, but he thought it should be a negotiated process. And then also asked him just about how he was processing these images out of Gaza.
Oh, as a
the
father.
of
Okay, all right.
4-year-old twins. And
But I just wanted to get through that because the answer didn't change at all. He threw in, oh yeah, if I would have voted to block arms sales to Israel, I mean, it's already happened. I could have spoken out about it at the time as I'm trying to position myself to run for president.
What about Iron Dome?
Yeah, well, we know what that answer would be. So, what his backtrack was I was just so basically it's so big and hard of a topic that I was unable to articulate myself, that he was so overcome with emotion. I also, I'm not going to commit to recognizing a Palestinian state, which is basically supposedly supposed to be the Democratic Party position for, I don't know, my entire lifetime. I was just too emotional about the topic to give a clear answer.
It's such a big topic in the sense that they gave me $190,000 to run my last presidential campaign, and I'm hoping they might do the same in the future. So I'm trying to not do anything to jeopardize that. It's very nuanced, this wanting money for my political ambitions thing.
Yes.
Allyship. We need to have allies that, get out the checkbook every 4 years.
No one's saying that. No poll says that.
I never really have an opportunity for that one, but that's a little underrated.
He's corrupt. He's corrupt. Pete Buttigieg is bought by Israel.
Yeah.
I
mean, if you can't show courage on this now, he was probably shocked by the reaction. Why are these freaks shocked by the reaction? Israel's military action has an 8% approval rating with Democratic voters. I don't understand this. Because, I mean...
They're corrupt.
But because they think that they can get out of it with some sort of, he can just speak his way out of it. And that's not how this is going to work, dog.
That's what got him to the dance.
It can't change his tricks, I guess.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.